In 2006 or 7, we really started the effort to define, Singing Stream 2, and was there enough material? And that was about the time we found out from Dr. Patterson that the film had been placed over in the vault, and it was going to be preserved forever, and it was still over there. We could actually get access to it, all those kind of things. And so, Efrem and Effect, commission, as president, we tried to support what was going on, and I said, look, so we start looking at natural attributes. That's the one thing that we've kind of figured out along the way. I know that the three of us in particular, don't leave Junior out, but we're brothers, so, and we've looked at it from our mother, because your parents somehow always know what you're good at, what you're not. And so I'm the organizer, and so then it's organize it, figure out what it is that we do. We already know what we're going to do. We're going to figure out what we're going to do and who's going to be involved in it. Okay, sounds good. I can organize it. So I start organizing it. And I didn't realize it until we were having a conversation about it yesterday. I went back in my notes because I keep everything. I mean, literally. Okay, I'm a history guy, so I keep everything. So I had this place after we talked on Friday night. Let me go back to my folder, because I know I did project plans. I know that I did the whole 9 yards. I went back to this folder. Sure enough, there it is. CLFA Family Project 2007, and in there is probably about 12 files. Project files, HTML saves of emails from our meetings, meeting notes, agendas, project plans, project chart. I formally did this because I'm a former project manager. So I like doing things. I know that we can get off, but by me putting project plans down allows me to be able to at least keep us on target. Give us some flexibility to how people are. We don't want to run this like it's a business. You got to run it, but you want to know how you do what you're doing. So everybody looked at it. And I said, man, I don't understand it. We did all this stuff. We had meetings. We talked about it. We got Tom. We went back and had conversations. And you got some of your emails. Tom has no desire. This is me. Tom has no desire to be the executive producer. Remember, he didn't contact us. We contacted him. At grandmother's funeral, Tom asked, can you find anyone in the family that can produce a part 2? I mean, we talked about it to this point. And me again, 3 years ago when we were going to do part 2, we were going to get $5,000 to $10,000 from a North Carolina folklore grant. It goes to that conversation. As I review his email, Tom point blank tells us that if he's going to be involved in the project, I will be in control but receive input from family members. So I went back and started looking at these notes and emails from all our conversations what we had with you. And I said, well, what in the world happened? And Junie yesterday, he starts talking. He says, man, I was talking to my wife. He said, that was when everything was happening with the uncles and stuff. I said, what? He said, don't you remember? He said, when did your daddy die? That's what I think you asked the question. When did your daddy die? I said, it was March of 2007. It was Mama's day. He said, well, I said, that was a month after your dad, 2 months after your dad. He said, yeah. I said, you're kidding. We start looking at the dates, January 11, 2007. That meant that Uncle John and Uncle Truesdale had died that fall. Then we had these meetings. We were probably prompted by those first 2 deaths, Uncle John dying and Uncle Truesdale dying, to do something. It was time for us to do something. Grandma died now. They didn't start dying. We got to start doing something. We got these meetings together. We started doing something. A month later, your daddy died. A month later, my daddy died. When his daddy was dying, Uncle Tony was there, and he was sick, couldn't eat a thing at the thing, and we knew something was wrong. And 2 months later, he died. And I told him this. I said, man, I remember. I was at Uncle Tony's funeral, and we were like comatose. Because in 6 months, 7 months, we had like 6 deaths. It was like every month we were burying one of them. And by the time Uncle Tony died, I don't even know if we were even crying anymore. It was to a point where we were just numb. And I think we just our goal had been at this time, in January 11, 2007, that to have something that we were going to be working on or showing or dealing with at family reunion that year. But for 5 months, we were just taking lick after lick. And after a while, I think we were just worn out with it, and we had delayed our plans and traveling all over the place. Daddy was so sick that Ken and Bronzell didn't even go to Uncle Fleming's funeral. It was a big snowstorm. They stayed with Daddy so Mama could go. the funeral was in a snowstorm.
I got pictures.
To a point where we were concerned about getting to where his burial site was, and we were concerned that if we stayed beyond the repast, that we'd be snowed in. So we had to leave that night to try to get to southern Ohio to get back. That's the kind of 6-month period we had, to a point where we didn't get back to it, and somehow it was erased from our memory. To a point where I didn't even remember we were supposed to go back to it. By then, we were in another world and going through 2007 and 2008, and you know, I started changing. I took another job about that time. I went up to Richmond and spending time. And we all have our children going through and changes in our lives. And the next thing you know, this project was on a back burner until we started looking at it again about, and because we had done, that's when we went over to UNC Chapel Hill. We actually got recordings. We actually went through the outlines and pulled off CDs and got some of the interviews, and you know, went ahead and paid for them, looked at all the stuff, looked at some of the film over there inside the library. We were moving this thing along until those deaths started. And so what it told me was that, man, we had our mindset, we got kicked in the teeth, and the time has come for us to get back to it.